What is up, guys? We are so back. In last week's episode, I mentioned how bad the first three episodes were and how I think episode four has a chance to be a pretty highly rated episode and to just overall redeem kind of the first three episodes due to the fact that they're hinting at everything being a large culmination, along with the fact that Homelander was going to be going back to his childhood trauma, or I guess going back to relive childhood trauma in his childhood home, which was obviously, as we know, a laboratory. And when you look at the ratings, I was absolutely correct with IMDb giving it a 9.1, which, if you quickly just take a look at some of the other seasons, you will realize is the third highest rated episode in the entirety of The Boys. And I can see why, because they finally added stakes to it, they finally added consequences, and they allowed Anthony Starr to just be Anthony Starr. And it was fantastic because a lot of the best episodes in The Boys are ones where Anthony Starr kind of takes the limelight and is the focal point of his, I guess, just the entire scene, and his acting is just so good as Homelander. It truly rivals some of the best antagonists we have seen in any form of film or television. But going into it a little bit more, Homelander's was really interesting because at first he went there with the intention of essentially resolving his trauma by slowly killing everyone in ways that would either embarrass them or hurt them in the way that he was hurt or embarrassed while there. And every time he did it, which he only did it twice before Abigail showed up, he would say, "I forgive you," to kind of, I think, in his way, alleviate the pain and the trauma of it, to try to ascend to godhood, which is the reason why he is there. And once Abigail gets there, she starts talking to him in the what Homelander calls the bad room, and in that room, she says the out loud part, or she says what everyone's thinking out loud, and how you're super powered. You could have just killed everyone and left. But why didn't you? And that's when she reveals the fact that Vought hired the best psychologist in the world to make a plan to psychologically manipulate and brainwash him into needing Vought's approval and having a desperate need for approval and constant validation in an attempt to make him as loyal to the company as possible, which, as we have seen, did not end up too well and created a psychotic murderer. So that's absolutely amazing. Thank you for that. After finding that out, he gathers everyone up into the bad room and then kills all of them except for Abigail. And then he leaves, and that was when you see the thumbnail and that great photo of him smiling maniacally, and he's covered in blood. Which, again, whenever you have Anthony Starr be able to put in a performance like this, it's always going to be an absolutely fantastic episode. And then going on to the second main contention of this episode, and what creates the real stakes and consequences so far of this season, is the fact of the Stormlight firecracker. Wait, what the fuck? Firecracker? Yeah, firecracker. Wait, what? Why am I? Why am I? Yeah, firecracker. I don't know why I thought I said the wrong name there, but yeah, Starlight versus Firecracker. So first, this starts off as, in order to prevent it, they try to frame Firecracker as like, hey, we know that you're a pedophile. You had relations with a 15-year-old boy when you were 28 at a Case for Christ event, right? Which is obviously a Christian organization. And they're like, oh, that's pretty hypocritical of you. She's like, okay, boop, sends, press the send button on the tweet. Then she later comes on and be like, oh, I had to make a confession. I did these bad things, but God has shown me the way. God has redeemed me. God has done all these other things for me and has made me a better person. And they all eat it up, of course. And after that, she starts going on and ragging about Starlight. She reveals that Starlight injured a bunch of people in her first save, and she kind of like panics and tries to like um defend herself in the situation. but everyone who is there that is not like the boys, like all of her um Starlight movement people, just kind of give her this really weird and not good look, which causes her to freak out and go into the next room, which was really dumb of them to do when you consider that you're literally relying on her to pass the bill, which she willingly accepts the responsibility of doing at the very beginning of the episode when she goes to Rob Singer himself in person and be like, I will push this bill and I will even make a super suit for it if I have to, right? And then, which then makes the next part even worse when Firecracker releases her medical history and realize and shows to everyone that the Christian girl had an abortion, and she labels her a child murderer or a baby murderer. And then that's when Starlight cracks. She loses it, goes over and beats the shit out of her. And the only reason she doesn't kill her is because MM stops her, because MM and Billy also had to go there to help out Frenchie, who we'll talk about in a little bit. But that whole situation happens, and after that, we see both Victoria Newman and Rob Singer denounce any part of Starlight and say that they cannot associate with her. And because of that, it puts Starlight in a new position we really haven't seen her in before, where she's fucked up so bad that they legitimately don't. There isn't right now a plan for anything, and she ruined something that could have legitimately helped them, which generally is something almost exclusively for Billy to do, right? So we have that aspect of the story, and then fuck, why is that annoying the shit out of me? Okay, so we have that aspect of the story going on, and then in terms of all the side shit that's going on in the background, right? MM takes a very massive backseat to this. The only real part that is pretty prevalent is when he talks to Billy, and Billy reveals that he's physically been deteriorating, and he makes a promise. He asks, he asks MM to promise him that if he dies beforehand, that he tries to grab Ryan and protect him and raise him because he's the best dad he knows. And I was like, that is the nicest thing you probably ever said to me. And you have that moment. Um, Also, another person who kind of takes a back seat is going to be Frenchie, who we mentioned earlier, who fights Ezekiel. But before that, Colin reveals that he saw his killer's ankle, which is Frenchie. And because of Frenchie having the burn marks and him not wearing socks and just raw dogging a murder, apparently, he knows he can identify his killer. So after the fight with Ezekiel, Colin is trying to help him, and Frenchie freaks out and just straight up tells him, in which Colin starts choking him out, and Frenchie wants him to kill him, but Colin doesn't, and then he leaves. But then also prefaces it with saying that, with a threat that, oh, if you come near me again, I will kill you, you psychopath. And then you kind of see him fall into a despair, which is going to be very similar to Kimiko, because after she agreed to be the muscle to meet up with unwillingly meet up with A Train with Huey, they were attacked by Liberation Sun, which then revealed that the girl that they had shown earlier was actually a victim of Kimiko herself, because Kimiko abducted her and then dragged her into a knife fight after she had gotten her power, so there was no way of that girl winning, and then gave her that scar to remember her by. But Kimiko does not remember it, which begs some questions about future plot holes in terms of her memory and how bad is her amnesia and how does it work, and why can she remember certain things but then not other things, and why was she super hostile to the Liberation Sun in season one when she was locked underneath that noodle store. So there's a whole lot of questions that need to be asked, but I guess we just gotta wait to see how they approach them. So that's a potential plot hole that I, yeah, again, I don't like the Liberation Sun thing again. Um, it's just rehashing shit with same thing with Dylan's character. So after that happens, Kimiko, there's a scene where you see Kimiko throw away all of her oh my god, self help books. She throws all of them away in the trash, and she's kind of depressed, just like Frenchie. So I think they're going to be spiraling down the same path, and I think they'll lead to them getting back together and then reconciling with themselves. And then after that, going on to Huey. Huey's main thing, obviously, is that he meets up with A Train. He wants to get V to save his father. Kimiko during the meetup or after the meetup before the attack adamantly disapproves, and even Billy also disapproves as well later on after he gets it from A Train, which obviously leads to the scene at the bed or the hospital at his father's bedside where he's staring at it. He's debating about giving it to his father, but ultimately decides not to give it to his father. And we see a really interesting scene where we see something that is a blue liquid go from his IV into him, and he wakes up. And before that, you see a pan shot to his mother where she has a very optimistic look to her, or like an intrigue, where she's like waiting to see what happens. So it's implying she did something, but it would also be weird. Like, how would she give him V? How, like, did she give him V? Or is that something else completely different? Like, how could, like, what are they trying to play at here? God, I need to figure out this position. But there's that really interesting part about it that needs to be answered. And then going back to A Train, we're now in a new character dynamic that we have never seen in the show before, and is a character dynamic that only Huey could in A Train could really achieve, because both are characters that are, well, I guess they both have massive rooms to grow. Huey is a lot more of a forgiving character and more kind hearted in nature, and A Train obviously has been on a redemption arc after having all the shit that he did to essentially Huey done to him, and finally realizing, oh, I am a massive dick. All the shit I do is really bad, and kind of being able to sympathize with Huey. And you get this scene where it's like, oh, are you going to actually forgive me now, or is this bullshit again? Yeah, that's what I thought. And then right as he leaves, Huey admits, you know what? Yeah, I was going to say go fuck yourself, but the reality of the situation that you pulled through for me, you're helping us. So, we're even, we're through. And they bury the hatchet, and which is good because obviously they're teammates. And you don't want that, especially now with Starlight kind of fucking everything up. So that creates a new dynamic where one out of the three boys members who were violence of superheroes, who were victims of superhero violence, now have reconciled and are now working with one of the superheroes. Which, to be fair, there's no way that they're like or Billy are reconciling with Homelander or Soldier Boy anytime soon. So that was the only really way you could do it, but it also creates a new character dynamic, which is really interesting for future plot points that they could do throughout the season. So I really liked that, and that is pretty much it. Um, like I said, I think it is rightly deserving of a high rating. Anthony Starr acting was phenomenal. It put Starlight in a position in which she generally isn't, she has actually never been in, really, and creates a new set of stakes and consequences for the series. Something else I just realized I forgot to mention. Another massive question mark we have is what is wrong with Billy? Because obviously Billy took Compound V, but it's not saving him. But there was this weird little worm thing crawling through his skin and his forehead into his, was his left or right eye? One of his eyes. Right when Ezekiel was choking him out, and he went black, and then Ezekiel went boom, pop, all over everywhere. No idea what happened. So there's a question about if the compound V mutated whatever grew in his brain from temp V. That could also be another question. And that is that like a disease or something. But um, either way, besides for those, let's see, Anthony Starr's performance, um, the weird worm and Billy, Starlight's fuck up, Kimiko and Frenchie repeating storylines and are now depressed as shit. And Huey and A Train obviously reconciling. Wait, fuck, didn't I just mention that? Whatever. Obviously, we have all those, and then um, we have Sister Sage's new potential plan that we'll have to see towards next episode. But either way, I don't know what you guys think of this episode. I need I actually do need to find better fucking positioning for that, or I just need to use my left hand for this, which is weird because I'm obviously right-handed. But no matter the point, this was my thoughts, my analysis of this episode. Like I said, I agree with it that it's a should be a very highly rated episode. I don't know if I would. I don't know if the off like top of my head I would say it's top three in the series, but with the way they approach a lot of the new character dynamics and the way they're setting up the next couple of episodes, along with some of the question marks they have left for us to theorize and wonder about, I am very excited for this season. I hope that it brings up that abysmal 7.9 rating in the first four episodes and kind of brings back to form in the way that this episode did, and it continues to have a strong, smooth sailing until then. But if you guys like the video, leave a like down below. Comment what you guys think is going to happen next and what you think is wrong with potentially Billy and what other storylines could potentially happen. And if you want to see more from me, just hit the subscribe button and the notification bell down below. I am really fucking tired. I'm going to go eat something. And before I do that, though, I want to say thank you to all the people who are currently subscribed to the posse. Couldn't do it without you. And yeah, have a good rest of your day. I'm gonna go eat and peace out.